Thank you so much. My name is Jean Swidler. My family is impacted by the C9orf72 repeat expansion, and I'm the part-time executive director of Genetic ALS and FTD and the Legacy. We were here last year, not here, but in Basel at this meeting, and we presented on our peer support initiatives. Today we're back speaking about some of our education initiatives. So, and we just want to highlight how appreciative we are for everyone's support. Gethin for those very kind comments, the Alliance staff who've been so supportive and nice to us, and so many friends and allies. So, Genetic ALS and FTD is a community-led nonprofit. We are proudly affiliated with the ALS Hope Foundation, and we are focused on providing education and support resources to, promoting, and advocating for the genetic ALS and FTD community. So today we have just a few members of our team with us. Cassandra Haddad is a nurse practitioner in a family impacted by SOD1 ALS, and she is amazing. And Mindy Uhrlaub is in a family impacted by C9orf72, and is a published author and worked on the recent NASM report on ALS. And with that, I will give it over to Cassandra.
Thanks, Jean. So, what did the landscape of accessible genetic education look like before our events? Well, historically, families were largely told that ALS genetically is very rare. And while genetic ALS and FTD is rare, it's not rare within our family trees or even in our daily lives. Our families were told not to worry, genetic cures are on the horizon. But they've been told that for decades now. And some families only ever saw their genes in a list without any details such as penetrance even discussed. We believed our families deserved not just more, but better information. And they needed it to hear it from their peers, from families like theirs that are impacted. We knew the genetic community was looking for information, and we expected a large turnout. In order to reach our impacted families around the world, we developed a plan to host several webinars. Each one would take a deep dive on a separate gene and feature not only an expert from the field, but a peer who is actively participating in research. We wanted to disseminate whatever information is out there to families that are directly impacted. For example, we wanted to ensure that families impacted by SOD1, like mine, knew about Qalsody. The other advantage of discussing genes one at a time in the larger landscape of ALS and FTD is it is hard to find dedicated time to focus on genetics, much less specific genes, which are a microcosm in the rare disease space. In addition to the webinars I just spoke about, we also developed the first patient-facing genetic summaries. We will continue to roll these out for the various genes that impact our community. We hope to continue the webinar series due to the overwhelmingly positive feedback that we'll share with you today. We're proud to report that we had 367 people register for our webinars. The goal was to have participants watch with their families as a means to facilitate conversation and information sharing. As they are freely available on our website and YouTube channel, hundreds more have gotten a chance to watch. One note is that the registrations mirror the genetic population prevalence, as you can see on this slide. For 3 of our webinars, 100% of participants felt we met the goal of providing information about available research and why some choose to participate in research. Post-event surveys were used to ensure that we were meeting the needs of our community. For the C9 webinar, an interesting note was that our community is asking for info on C9 FTD trials, but currently there are none available. And that is one of our messages to the scientific and care communities. We must break down the silos between ALS and FTD. We heard this message loud and clear at this very conference yesterday as well. As you can see here, 100% of participants in the SOD webinar felt that it was informative. I'll take credit for that one. And the same thing here for GRN. And I'll turn it over to Mindy.
As you can see, 75% of the viewers would be more likely to consider enrolling in research. As you can see, 75% of the viewers would more likely be considering enrolling in research as a result of seeing this webinar. This is the real goal of this effort, to continue to shepherd our community into studies. In fact, while watching our webinars, some of our community members signed up for studies on their own accord. 85% of responders said that they were personally impacted by the C9 gene mutation. 41% said that they were personally impacted by SOD1. 44% said they were personally affected by the progranulin mutations. 66% said that they were personally affected by TAR-DBT. For these rare mutations that are of great interest to many, having so many personally impacted means we are reaching exactly who we want to reach. For the C9 webinar, respondents said that information on the internet can be overwhelming, but they were less confused after our presentation. You can expect that information that people find on the internet is mostly geared for academic audiences, so our webinars provide lay people with the information they're looking for. For the SOD1 presentation, viewers said that hearing from other peers made their learning about genetic mutations easier. Genetically inherited ALS might be rare, but we make our viewers realize that they are not alone in learning about it. For the GRN webinar, a researcher said they were going to use it as a tool for newly diagnosed patients. There are so many academic papers out there about genetically inherited ALS and FTD, but End the Legacy has put this information into an easily understood format that makes patients feel less alone. We have patient-facing written guides on our website for C9 and progranulin. We're very proud of our written guides, and it's clear that readers are benefiting from them. And if you're interested in learning more about educational experiences and opportunities, please go to our website, and please don't be shy about sharing with your friends. Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have any questions for Jean, Mindy, or Cassandra? Can I just start off with one? So it's a little perhaps off topic, but obviously the ideal way to get tested is just through genetic counselling first, pre and post, and then obviously through a formal genetic testing program. Have you found that many people in your organisation have got their genetic results perhaps through something like 23andMe or the direct-to-consumer testing? And what are your thoughts around that? Is it a good or a bad thing?
Yeah, just to clarify, we are huge supporters of genetic counseling as a field, and it is an essential part of people pursuing genetic testing for themselves or their families. And we do not believe that actually patient-facing genetic testing is really a big thing for these genes because they're not in 23andMe. I guess people can do whole genome sequencing or something, but even finding where the C9 expansion, for instance, would be pretty hard, I think, for a layperson. So most people are getting them through either studies or doctor's orders. Now, there is an issue with doctors ordering genetic testing for people based on their request without ensuring they get genetic counseling. So that is something that might be happening, but that is through a medical channel. And our information is not to replace genetic counseling. It's just some added information for folks. And many have said to us that having some of this basic factual information before they speak to a genetic counselor really allows them to spend more time speaking about the personal impacts in their life rather than learning facts in the discussion. I don't know if Mindy or Cassandra has a feedback.
I would just say, as a nurse practitioner, patients often come to me. Typically in family practice, except for an exceptional one day a month that I get to spend with Dr. Terry Hyman Patterson. But I really discourage patients from doing 23andMe for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's not clean testing, and number two, privacy. So it's been all over the news lately that these companies are getting sold and the data is getting shared. And if you've ever seen a report come back, it's like over 20 pages long, and then you have to pay an additional service for a data scrubber to try and pull these things out. So I think our message as End the Legacy is please do this in combination with genetic counseling, and to the community at large is maybe steer clear of these sites.
Yeah, I think we have a worldwide shortage of genetic counsellors, unfortunately, and please encourage your children to study genetic counselling. We need more. Are there any questions online? Nope. Okay, next, what's your next plans? Where are you going next with your, because that information you've already provided looked fantastic. What's next what's the next cab off the rank?
Our biggest next step is the white paper that was just published on the guidance for the community and disseminating that information out around the world to let members of our community know that care is indicated if that's what you choose to participate in, and there is a place for monitoring. So we greatly appreciate all of the efforts of research. However, our community also deserves personal care and monitoring, and we are just thrilled to have participated in writing this guideline and seeing it published now. And we did pay for open access, so if you want to read the paper in full, please head to our website and you can access it for free.
Hi, I have a question. Sarah McGuire from ALS Canada. Congratulations on these fabulous webinars. My question may be something you already answered last year, so I apologize. I'm wondering if you've explored through your peer support model actual support groups where people are connecting for experiences as opposed to just information.
I can answer that one. We have a peer support hour that I'm one of the facilitators of, and it happens, once a month. It's about once a month, and there's 3 facilitators, and we often have people showing up who are asking questions like, "I've lost 27 members of my family, should I get genetic testing?" And for us, we don't give any medical advice. We literally just listen, we reflect back, we sort of speak with each other and try to support each other about tough decisions. Sometimes people come on and they're just really, really upset. They just saw a loved one pass away from ALS, or they're a caregiver and also a genetic carrier. And as you can imagine, being part of the genetic community, we kind of live in a special kind of hell because we see our family members pass away from FTD and ALS, and we don't necessarily feel like other people in the ALS community can relate to us in this way because it's just different for us, and so we're there for each other. And I think it's very beneficial for people. We actually have follow-up calls. Sometimes individuals will call me, like I'll share my phone number or whatever, and then we end up sort of mentoring each other. It's actually kind of a wonderful community building situation.
Hey, Gene, back here. It's Rob from Iona's way in the back by the corner. Hey, congratulations on everything you guys have accomplished the last couple of years. I wanted to ask you, you said one of the missions is to try to bring the FTD part into ALS. So I wanted to give you a couple of minutes to talk about why you see that being necessary, some of the steps that have been taken, and what you think needs to be done.
Yeah, I think one flavor of this is that we know that drugs get into the pipeline for testing through models. And let's consider for a moment the absurdity that there is not a C9 FTD animal model and a C9 ALS animal model. There is the C9 model. There's not a C9 FTD iPSC line and a C9 ALS iPSC line. There is a C9 iPSC line. So the fact that there's drug testing for C9 specific drugs or drugs for general TDP-43 ALS that accept C9 ALS patients that are not being considered for C9 FTD patients, let alone all of TDP-43 FTD, it just doesn't make sense. These are likely the same biological disease. For C9, it's basically proven it's the same biological disease. And it doesn't make sense to act like something that works for C9 ALS wouldn't work for C9 FTD, at least on the cellular level. Thank you for that softball, Rob.
Okay, we'll have to wrap that up. Thank you, Jean, Mindy, and Cassandra, and please keep up that fantastic work for End the Legacy.